Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I'm doing an introduction review on the LG Realm from Boost Mobile. And I'll be giving you the specs of this phone, what I think about it so far, run some tests, take you on the phone, all the good stuff. Let's go ahead and get started. This phone runs Android 4.4.2. It does have a 4.5 inch display with 480 by 800 resolution at 207 ppi. It does have scratch resistant glass. It's also got a 5 megapixel camera on the rear with LED flash, and the maximum video recording is WVGA 800 by 480 resolution, and it also has a VGA front facing camera. It's running a 1.2 GHz dual core Snapdragon 200 processor with 1 GB of RAM, 4 gigs of built-in storage with 1.34 gigs of maximum user storage, and it will support up to a 32 GB micro SD card. It's got a 2100 mAh battery with around 17 hours of talk time, and this is a 3G device, no LTE unfortunately. Go ahead and take you around the phone right quick like. A nice added feature is the front-facing camera. Down here you have the back, home, and menu button. On the bottom you have your micro USB charging port, your volume rocker on this side, headset jack on top, power button. On the back is your single rear speaker, camera flash, and the back of this phone does have a nice little design to it, so it does add a little something extra compared to the original Exceed 2. And on the front here, on the home button, is your notification light, which you can change the colors for different colors and text and all that stuff. When I mentioned the Exceed 2, this phone is just like it. There's really not much difference between the Realm and the Exceed 2. The only differences that I've seen so far is the PPI on the Realm is 207 compared to the 199 on the Exceed 2. So a little bit difference. Not really, you really can't tell the difference on screen. And also the Realm adds a front-facing camera, so that's also a major improvement over the Exceed 2. But as far as the way the phone runs and the way it looks, it's about the exact same. This phone does have the double tap feature, which wakes the phone up, and double tap to put it back to sleep. The only problem with this feature is it's very sensitive. You just barely tap it, double tap it, and it'll come on, and barely do it again, it'll power back down, or it'll go back to sleep. It's very sensitive, and fortunately and thankfully you were able to cut that off. So you know, if you carry this phone in your pocket or in a holster or anywhere, most likely, you know, once it hits something, it's going to cut on. So it's always good to have that feature. You can turn it on or turn it off. So yeah, it's all good. So we'll go ahead and power the phone back up here, and like I say, the phone does run smooth. It's not activated at the moment, so I can't really comment on the reception from Boost Mobile or the data speeds or, you know, the call quality, nothing like that. But as far as some benchmark tests that I have downloaded, and by the quality or by the smoothness of the phone, it's pretty much stock. Just 3 apps downloaded right now, but you know, it is very smooth. One of the main issues that I see with this phone here is the fact that it only has 1.34 gigabytes of maximum user storage. And you know, the way apps are now, you can have one game to take up to 400 megabytes, which a lot of times you can move them over to your SD card, which I'm sure you can with this phone here as well. But still, 1.3 gigs is not a whole lot of memory or storage, you know, the way apps are today. So, you know, hopefully a lot of this stuff will be able to be transferred to the SD card to make more room for, you know, more apps and stuff like that. So that's really the only problem that I see with this phone here is that issue there. But other than that, it does seem to run very smooth. About like the Exceed 2, it's very smooth for what it is. It's definitely no powerhouse by any means, but if you want a entry-level, lower-end Android device with a really nice size screen, that does run smooth, then this is a nice phone. These phones are going right now on sale for around $40, I think, at Best Buy and Radio Shack. Of course, always double check prices because they could go off sale at any time. But that's what I paid for mine. It was $40. So I couldn't pass it up because that was too good of a deal for this phone here not to buy it. So anyway, we'll go in here and look at the Antutu benchmark test. And mine came in at 14,487, which is not a bad speed. Of course, on the older versions of Antutu benchmark, this score here would have got a good instead of a not too bad. But of course, with the newer versions, the updated versions of this benchmark here, these lower end devices kind of get a bad rap, getting a lower score and saying that they're general phones and they're nothing spectacular, which they're really not nothing too spectacular. But like I say, for $40, if you want a phone that's going to work good and going to probably have good call quality and good reception and just an average all around good phone, then this phone here is really not bad. I mean, it really ain't. So I don't really pay much attention to them speeds because everybody don't have a Galaxy S5 or a G3 or a M8 or stuff like that. Sometimes people just want these lower end devices, and nothing wrong with that. But today all you hear about is the iPhone 6, 6 Plus. Who cares? I'm not an Apple fan, but they're all over the internet. So that's why I'm doing these lower end devices, because there are a lot of people who like to use these kind of devices instead of them high end devices, which me personally, if a phone works good, if it runs smooth, hey, it's all good. On the Quadrant, this one came in at 5,364, which the last test I ran was about 100 points more, and it did get a little bit better down here on the CPU, and 2D and 3D was a little bit better, but not by much. So, pretty average. Not bad for this kind of phone here, but I can kind of tell, even though it's not activated, in my area with no coverage, I am getting 1 bar service just sitting here. And I have noticed, for some reason, that since I switched from Virgin Mobile to Boost Mobile, that my signal is a bit better, even in the area with no coverage. So, don't know why, but hey, better coverage is always good. So, anyway, I will do further tests on this phone once it's activated and I use it some, and do some battery tests and see how reception is and call quality and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned for all of that. This has been an introduction video of the LG Realm from Boost Mobile. Got any questions or comments, please feel free to ask me. Hit that like button, I sure would appreciate it. Also, subscribe to my channel, I sure would appreciate that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Y'all have a good, talk to y'all later.